How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
Wonderful game of ODI cricket, retro ODI cricket, where 250 proves to be enough. India dismiss New Zealand. The spinners take 9. Chakravarthi takes 5. India claim all 6 points as they top their group and set up a semi-final clash against Australia. New Zealand and Kane Williamson had their moments. There is so much to discuss on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Match Day. We will hear from, I'm sure, very pleased Anil Kumble watching all the spin that we saw. Shane Bond will weigh in on where New Zealand lost that game. First up, Sanjay Manjrekar with me. It was a fun game to watch. It wasn't a 700-run game, but these kind of games have their own charm, don't they, Sanjay?
And tells you how one-day cricket can entertain us and what is the excellence you get to see in one-day cricket. Kane Williamson's inning, a bit like Joe Root the other night, single-handedly taking his team close to the target, unfortunately not finishing the job. So the one aspect that I've seen of one-day cricket that I enjoy is a run chase from a master batter, and that was great to watch. But in the end, India won, and a good win for India, because this was the first serious challenge for India. Shreyas Iyer's innings and an inspired selection call from India, having that fourth spinning option, especially when that fourth spinner is Varun Chakravarthi, who just can't help but get wickets.
Proved to be an absolute masterstroke. We will talk more about Varun Chakravarthi, and I'm sure it's only fitting that Anil Kumble leads it. Redemption story for him. Anil left out of the Indian team at this ground in a disappointing T20 World Cup nearly 4 years ago. And what a sudden surge it's been since he's back in the ODI team. What a selection.
I think, it's certainly something that I'm sure the team management looked at when Yashasvi Jaiswal was injured, and India sort of chose to go the fourth spinner route. And we all sort of discussed, is 4 too many? But, it's been really fruitful that they read the pitch well. Obviously, this pitch had something in for the bowlers. You saw that even when New Zealand bowled. But having said that, I think Varun has been exceptional in the last 1.5 years, consistently winning matches for whichever team that he's played for, whether it's Tamil Nadu or KKR or for India in T20 internationals. And now, today, getting an opportunity because, obviously India had already qualified, but going by the pitch and also the conditions, perhaps for the semi-final and hopefully for India for the final, this certainly augurs well. And if this is the kind of pitch that India will continue to play on in Dubai, then this 4-pronged spin attack would be really a challenge for any team. I mean, Australia would find it extremely difficult to maneuver these 4 spinners.
Bondi, carry on from there, because New Zealand was supposed to be, and certainly with the numbers, one of the best teams in the world when it comes to countering spin.
I think you spoke about it at the halftime break, about India's quality of spin and their wicket-taking and ability to take wickets was always going to be difficult. I thought New Zealand would be aggressive, but like anything, starting against good spin and then also coming up against someone who's so unique like Chakravarthi can make that challenging. And I look at my fellow panellist Anil Kumble, who bowled really flat and attacked the stumps at good pace. For a long time, spin bowling was about tossing the ball up, getting the ball above the eyes, and it shows now that when you bowl quite quick and attack the stumps and move the ball both ways, and someone like Rashid Khan comes to mind in T20 cricket, it's very difficult to implement that shot. It's very difficult to score against, and you have to admire the comeback of Chakravarthi, in all formats, the way he's bowled. And now it's Gigi who's got those selection dilemmas, isn't it? Maybe it's just made it easier for him, this performance.
Yeah, West Indies can have 4 fast bowlers in their time with Clive Lloyd as captain. We might have 4 spinners in this rule of Rohit Sharma and Gautam Gambhir. Clearly seems like Gambhir likes to make these kind of calls against expectation. He played Washington Sundar in that home series, and in Australia as well. Harshit Rana was somebody who just came out of the blue. Today, who would have thought India would have a Varun Chakravarthi along with somebody like a Kuldeep Yadav? And I just wonder whether Varun Chakravarthi being there in the way that he bowls, it just became that much more difficult for New Zealand, because until then they seem to be handling the spinners okay. There are a couple of batters there, Glenn Phillips and Daryl Mitchell, who don't seem to be comfortable starting off against spin. But yeah,
What has Varun Chakravarthi added as a 10-over bowler? We know what he can do in T20 cricket, and we know Gambhir's affinity towards him because he's played in that franchise. But he seems to have developed or raised his game as a 50 overs bowler.
I think he bowls slightly slower, and there's a little bit of Anil Kumble will be able to tell you better, but a leg spin that he bowls a little more of a close to a pure leg spinner. He's still very much a finger bowler and not a wrist spinner, but he bowls that leg spin. And we saw in the one-day matches against England at home, he tried to bowl it outside off like a proper leg spinner and got hammered for 2 fours. I remember that happening. Didn't bowl a single ball there. So he's somebody who's finding ways to, fit and adjust to one-day cricket. And I just love the length that he bowls, right up there in the slot. And that's how he gets his wickets, either leg before or bowl. So he's going to be a handful for any team, and well done to the Indian team management for playing him and making him a serious option getting into the last 2 games.
He did say, Anil Kumble might tell us better. He's deferring it to you, his junior spinner in the Indian side, Anil.
Yeah, I've trained him well. Now just hear him speak. It'll be impressive.
Thank you, Sanjay. No, I think what Varun has certainly done is he's improved his fitness. That has certainly helped him continue to develop his game, and then he's added that variation that Sanjay was talking about. He got Bracewell out with that. I know that the umpire gave it out, but the DRS saw it as a googly, which is very, very strange because we saw the leg spinner coming out of the hand and it did spin a little bit. And if it had impacted where the umpire thought that it had impacted just around that off stump, then it should have certainly hit middle and off, but the ball was missing. But that's something that he's added. As a spinner, you're constantly evolving. And that's something that you need to do in this modern cricket, where people are picking from analytics, sitting down, and then picking all the variations. So it's very important that you keep adding to whatever you have. And Varun has certainly done that. And what has been very impressive, he always had the control over length. In that sense, he would get tired if somebody went after him. Then the pace certainly got quicker. Then that much it becomes slightly easier on good surfaces. But what he's done really well is the control is there. But the line, I think he's been very good with the line. He's around that middle and off stump, hitting that middle and off all the time. And when you're doing that, and he gets that bounce because of his action. He bowls, pretty. It's not like he's pretty tall, and then he bowls with that pace and the action that he has. He's bound to get bounce, and that certainly troubles batters. And the variations, we saw the leg break coming in, and then Santner got bowled by pace. He bowled at 100 with that seam up, and those are variations, additions that as any bowler in modern day cricket you need to continue to evolve, and that's the beauty about Varun. I think he's done that exceptionally well.
Can he also get an off spinner, Anil, into his variation? Just come in because he's such a finger spinner. Sunil Narayan does that. Can he get that for left-handers?
Yeah, I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can, because now that he already has a googly, which not many people pick, even though right-handers tend to. At least today, Kane Williamson was looking to play him as an off spinner. Every ball that he was bowling, he was looking to sort of pick it and then go through mid-wicket. And someone like Glenn Phillips picked the ball, but then because the line was slightly fuller, he missed it. So it's not just about having those variations, but I think when to bowl them is the most critical aspect. And that's something that I think Varun has done really well. And that's why he's been winning matches even in T20 formats and now in one-day format, because you may have 6, 7, 8, 10 variations, but then when to bowl them and how to sort of set the batter up, I think that comes with experience, and that comes with also confidence. And that's something that Varun has developed in the last 1.5 years.
Bondi, anything to add? And could New Zealand have played him any better?
Oh, you could always argue you could play someone better, but you've got to give some credit to the bowling. That it's almost perfect for New Zealand, whether they win or lose. At least they get to have a look at him. For some of those guys who perhaps haven't played him a lot, and they'll go away if they get the chance to play India again and go, well, how are we going to do better against this bloke if he plays again, and come up with something, because he is a difficult character and he has bowled so well now for the last period of time that you have to think that you need to be proactive against him. So I think psychologically it's still a big hit for New Zealand to go, well, we kept India to 250 and we lost by 45 runs. And so it's going to be really challenging. So if you end up bowling first next time, you're thinking, what do we have to keep them to? 250 was usually a pretty good effort, but if they don't, then that's always going to weigh in the back of your mind.
I just wonder whether they miss Devon Conway, because seems like he's a little more of a feel. He's a better feel for spin bowling on these kind of pitches. Would you think they might have somebody like him back in the playing 11? Because, Darren Mitchell is a good player, but starting off at the time that he does with spinners bowling and Glenn Phillips, despite his fielding brilliance, whether he might be convincing as a batter in that middle phase. Would they think on the lines of Devon Conway, you think?
Yeah, I can't see that. I think Gary Stead, one thing he is very loyal to his players. That's why I talked earlier about Ravindra at 4. I like Ravindra at 4 because I think he's a very good player of spin. And then once the ball loses that early shine and doesn't move, he becomes a difficult character to bowl against. But, I think I don't see New Zealand's batting order changing. I think New Zealand play the sweep a lot, and that's often to counter the fact that maybe they don't pick it. I think Mitchell's one of those. Phillips is definitely one of those who struggles a little bit at the start when the ball's turning both ways. But I think if New Zealand will do anything, they will be they'll talk a lot about those first 6 balls and how they're going to play someone like Chakravarthi in the first 6 balls. And I'd expect next time they come up against them, if they do, they will sweep a lot more. They'll be a lot more proactive than they were in this game.
Okay, can confirm
the other thing. Sorry,
yes, Anil, please.
Sorry, just to add to that, I think in hindsight, when you look at, yes, of course, we spoke about the batting of Devon Conway or someone like that coming up the order. But I thought in hindsight, looking at the surface and looking at the pace at which Varun Chakravarthi and Jadeja in particular got purchase of the surface. In hindsight, New Zealand may think that they should have used Glenn Phillips because he's someone who bowls really quick and he's hardly bowled. If you bowl the right length, Varun Chakravarthi, when he started off, he bowled that much fuller. Then it was easier. Once he pulled the length back, it was really difficult for the batter. So that's something that I'm sure New Zealand will also think in case they do make it to the final and then India make it to the final and they have to play again on this kind of a surface. They may think that, okay, Glenn Phillips, give him a ball.
Curiously did not bowl today. Anil Kumble right on mentioning that. Just trusted Michael Bracewell and Rachin Ravindra. Yep. Something for New Zealand to consider. They do live to fight another day. Confirmation that Varun Chakravarthi's player of the match on his ICC Champions Trophy debut. And for what it's worth, it wasn't just the ODI series. He was the spinner with the most number of wickets in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. Had an excellent 50 overs domestic campaign. And it's now taken it to another level with this. Nothing like performing at the right time. What does this do for India's selection chances? We thought that it'll be one of Varun or Kuldeep because they don't want to compromise on batting depth. This move of playing just one specialist seamer, is it too bold for a semi-final or is it just the right thing to do now, Sanjay?
I would say just the right thing to do. Harshit Rana, it will be a toss-up between Rana and Varun Chakravarthi. And, when you look at it, I think Gautam Gambhir is one of those guys who goes slightly out of the box. And I think 4 spinners against Australia on a pitch like this makes a lot more sense than 2 or 3 medium paces.
Let me just challenge that. Rana and Chakravarthi or now Rana and Kuldeep? Chakravarthi is now a short. He's ahead of Kuldeep.
No, I think Kuldeep as well because I think Kuldeep bowled just well enough. And I think we were watching the game and we were thinking about how many overs of spin left. And against Australia, I think they'll be counting overs of spin. And in India, if they have 40 overs of spin, that's just brilliant. And somehow they'll have to make, some dent in the batting order in the middle phase. And, the spinners can take over there.
Weigh in on this, Anil?
No, I think India will look to play the same team. 4 spinners if the pitch is similar. Because we have seen that in Dubai against Bangladesh, it did turn and it was similar to this. And even in the previous game against Pakistan, the wicket was slightly better. But I'm sure with spinners around and the way there's no dew, so that's the best part. You don't have to think about dew. If there was dew today, yet India won, then maybe India would have thought in the semi-final, going into semi-final, we don't want to take a chance in case dew becomes heavier. So there's no dew at all. So I'm sure India will look to attack with 4 spinners against Australia.
India just have to bat well, Ronak. I just realized, India's spinners will keep bringing them back in the game, but India just got 201 50,
249.
249, thanks to only 2 innings. So India will have to bat well on the given day, and then the spinners can be a force. They must have some runs to play with.
Bondi, you can come in as well. Just 8 overs of pace today. We think that's too big a risk. What if Shami's blow to the shoulder would have left him unfit or unavailable? What if Hardik pulls up? Can you play a semi-final of a major tournament with one quick bowler?
Well, look, it's always a risk, but it's also, it's good to be bold. You've got to enjoy the strategy. I think it'll be interesting if, India end up batting second, even though they like to bat second, and perhaps the wicket's a little bit better and doesn't turn as much. If Australia perhaps got away to a good start and had wickets at hand at the end, then what would happen? That would be the only situation where you'd go, they could find themselves in trouble. The beauty of someone like Varun Chakravarti's proved that he's very good at the back end of an innings too, and it's nice to see now also in the modern game the spinners who are always seen as those middle overs bowlers are coming into all phases and the ability to bowl in all phases and very effectively at the death as well. I think of someone like Tikshana who bowls wide and is very good. So yeah, look, I love that's the beauty of the game, that it continually evolves. And some will say, well, what if it gets hit? Yeah, but you look at the other side. What if it works like it did tonight? It was spectacular success. So I say, well done for India. That's it's a bold selection, but it proved to be the right one.
All right. Well, let's talk about the supporting cast. They played their parts. Axar, Jadeja, Kuldeep. Jadeja getting Latham, Axar getting Williamson of his final ball. Kuldeep getting Mitchell. That's properly played.
Kept it very simple as Axar does, and Jadeja as well. And Jadeja, when he got that first wicket, it was like relief for him, because until then, New Zealand were playing him really well and looked like they wouldn't lose too many wickets. Kuldeep Yadav not quite there yet, but I think after this performance of Varun Chakravarthi, Varun straight away comes into the playing 11. If at all, they might think Seamer, if they look at the pitch and feel.
What's missing for Kuldeep? Because I think
the trajectory. Again, you'll go to Anil to get a confirmation of that. I just believe that the trajectory is a lot flatter. Poor fellow has been, taunted for so long about his slowness, in the air and off the pitch. So he's worked out a way to be quicker. But what's happening now, he's quick in the air and quick off the pitch as well. What he really needs, and that is easier said than done. Maybe Anil will tell us how much body work he needs to put in. Because the ideal scenario for Kuldeep Yadav would be to be slow in the air and quick off the pitch. We saw Mitchell Santner again have that huge range of speed from 70 to 90, Adil Rashid as well, 69 to 85. Kuldeep Yadav's range is mostly in the 80s, and maybe the trajectory, he used to have that loopy kind of flighted delivery that he used to bowl a lot. That's suddenly not being seen as much.
Anil?
No, just I think, on this surface, you don't want him to bowl too slow either. Sometimes when you have not played for a while, you tend to think that you need to bowl quicker, which Kuldeep does, or he has done so over the last 1 year. And that's why he's been successful, because he's changed the angle of the run-up, which meant that the body came behind the delivery, and that gave him that fizz off the surface. While that may not be happening because of the slowness of the pitch, sometimes as a bowler, as a spinner, you tend to run in that much quicker, and then your timing at the crease goes away. Maybe that's something that Kuldeep may be doing. I don't know. I need to sort of really closely watch him in slow motion and try and see whether that's happening, because then at the time of delivery, you don't get that pause and you don't get that turn as well. I mean, Kuldeep on this surface, you would expect that he would spin really big.
Correct.
Varun Chakravarthi was, turning just that much. Jadeja was turning that much. Axar not much. But Kuldeep, you would expect him to go big. That was not happening, because perhaps maybe he was running it slightly quicker, trying to be that much more eager to get that wicket. It happens. It's like batting as well. When you're in your stands, you sometimes don't realize that you're doing something different. And that sort of loses the rhythm. And that could be the probably a point in Kuldeep. But I don't see him. I don't think India needs to worry, because Kuldeep is a match winner. We saw that he will pick wickets. And when batters are trying to go after him, it's never easy. because even despite so many matches that batters have played, they still find it very difficult to pick Kuldeep.
It's not going to be a toss-up between Kuldeep Yadav or a Bumrah or a Shami or some formidable seam bowler. It's still Harshit Rana who's finding his feet at the international level. So I'll be very surprised if India go away from their 4-spin strategy, where they won the best game of the tournament. I mean, the toughest opposition in form New Zealand team that seemed to be just perfect for the conditions. So I don't see that changing at all.
Yeah, let's illustrate the point Anil Sanjay making. We do have the breakdown of Kuldeep Yadav's speeds. Let me toss that over to the bowling coach. Don't think Shane Bond's only about high speed. He can understand how spin and their slowest and fastest balls play in. You can see the point that your co-panelists are making, Bondi. When you look at Kuldeep's slowest being 64, Rashid can really slow it up.
Yeah, that's outrageously slow, isn't it? 60 and 64. And Anil's right. Sometimes when the wicket, when it is slower, it enables a little bit more time. He doesn't get the bounce of a Chakravarthi, so you could sweep a little bit easier. And if it's not turning, then that pace makes him a little bit more ineffective. So look, again, he's a bowler who I think opposition generally fear a little bit in the middle, because he's the guy who can come on when nothing's happening and can make something happening. He can get a good player out with the good ball. And in the modern game of ODI cricket, you're prepared to go for a few more runs to have someone in the middle who can impact a game like he can.
All right, fair enough. Stick with me, Bondi. Let's talk about the one-class batter, arguably from both sides. You got 1 and 5 in the last 2 games, but that doesn't bother us when it comes to Kane Williamson. How good was that?
That's the beauty of a Kane Williamson. He just has this amazing ability to put out of his mind what's happened before. I mean, a couple of failures, which never happens, but it never looks like it impacts him. And I think that's because he never really judges himself on outcome. He just tries to play, his game plan, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And we saw a loose shot from him, almost one that was out of the box in his last innings, but this time, he's clearly one of those players who's had a lot of experience against these bowlers, has plans against how he wants to play them. And would have found Chakravarthi difficult, but played him in the right way, like an off-spinner. And to be fair, he prefers the ball turning away from him, Williamson. Off-spin is actually a really good option against him. So it shows he's one of those players who thinks about his opposition, comes up with a plan, and then as he does, just goes about his work, and that's why he's a great player.
It's quite unique because batters usually don't like the ball turning away from them, is what we think. That's why left-arm spinners have good numbers against Kohli, etc. Williamson, different.
Yeah, Tendulkar actually preferred left-arm spinners and leg spinners, and his record also shows that to the extent that he played one rookie off-spinner in a Ranji Trophy game because he troubled him in the nets before. He wasn't supposed to play, but because the off-spinner troubled him, he thought, wow, what a great spinner, let's play him tomorrow. So that can happen to certain batters. But Kane Williamson, when you watch him, Anil and Shane would have had the same feeling. It's like, he takes you back in time. And the first couple of, defensive shots that he played, where you start admiring defense as to how easily he does it. And a dab down to third man was like real retro cricket, because that was the go-to area Anil would remember. Sunil Gavaskar, people like us who were not blessed with too much power. We had a ready-made single down to third man, just a little dab against the seam bowler. We don't see that very often, but you need Kane Williamson sometimes to come in and just give us pure, vintage classical cricket, and it was fun to watch. And just like Joe Root, who that day would have played one of the greatest one-day innings of his career had he won the game for England against Afghanistan, it was an innings of pure class and abiding memory from the Champions Trophy. Joe Root and Kane Williamson today.
Yeah, given Sanjay takes the lead on the spinners conversation, we can now defer that to your fellow Test centurion Anil Kumble. I thought you'd let him start. Yeah, Anil.
No, I always loved watching Kane Williamson bat. I mean, he's someone very special. He doesn't look to smash the ball or anything. He just caresses it. And then today we saw him hit inside out to left-arm spinners, move away, and then wait for the ball to come in. And someone of the ability of Axar Patel, he was waiting so late, and then from the stumps, taking him to short third and getting off strike. I think the beauty about Kane Williamson is he adjusts to the conditions and to the bowlers very quickly, and it really augurs well for New Zealand to get Kane Williamson back into usual form into the semi-finals. So I think Kane Williamson scoring runs for New Zealand, along with the others who are in great touch. It's just that the conditions and the bowling quality of India certainly got the better of New Zealand. But I think going into the semi-final, New Zealand will certainly feel confident.
They're going to make the flight back to Lahore now. Batting conditions there. Just one, when we wrap this game up before we look ahead, Michael Bracewell's wicket, game was still alive there, and with 2 reviews, we thought it's almost a given that you can burn one if you want. Bondi, one of those things that you think about or have a chat about, or you just let it go?
I think it's worth having a chat about. I think that's what you generally expect from any team, isn't it? That when you've got reviews in hand and you're getting down to your last player or your last recognised top batsman, you're prepared to have a go. Particularly when there's turn in the wicket and you just don't know where the ball's pitched. Is it where it's hit me gonna miss the stumps because of the turn? There's always that little bit of doubt. So why wouldn't you use that review? Even if you had one left, with the quality of the bowling attack you're against, you're going to need 2 batsmen to get you a little bit closer. So yeah, I think there'll be mention that, look, next time, mate, be prepared to burn one. It's not the end of the world if it didn't work.
Yeah, and Mr. Spinner, there's always a mystery where the ball is going to finish, right? So might as well.
Very good. Or maybe
just from my side, I think the umpire got it right. The DRS did.
I was just going to say
because you were in your earlier answer, Anil, we got the sense of it. You're right. It was a leg spinner.
No, because no, it was a leg spinner, and then the ball actually was inside. That's what the DRS showed. That it was an umpire's call when it came to the impact, which meant that it was just about that off stump. And then since it was a leg spinner, no way that it could have missed the stump. The only way was bounce and not line. So I was very surprised when the DRS showed that it was missing.
Yeah, that's where the mystery element comes in. The mysterious path of Varun Chakravarthi, the mystery bowler.
All right. Bondi, what you need is if the guys who are not as selfless as you Kiwis, you can pick some from our part of the world if you want. They take a review.
Yeah, even Tom Latham, the way he just walked off, saying, brilliant. Go ahead.
Just one last point is the one player we haven't mentioned, really this year, is Axar Patel. He's a very New Zealand-like player. I think he's a workman-like player, and he's got the 1 for 32, 40 runs. I saw he got a great catch to start with, and something popped up that he had 96% catching efficiency. He sort of goes under the radar. He just goes about his work, and every time I see Axar in big games and he plays well, and I'm always impressed by him because he's just one of those guys. He's so consistent in his performance and sort of hidden amongst all these other superstars. But geez, he does a good job for India.
And that's an important wicket. If Williamson stays, who knows? That was the last ball of his spell.
And we've said that about his batting as well. I mean, start of the tournament, again, Gambhir, Rohit Sharma pulled a rabbit out of the hat, had him batting up the order, so they solved that problem. So batting contribution is there in the field. He doesn't drop anything, took a very important low catch. And he never bowls badly. He could go for runs in certain matches, but never bowls badly.
Sure.
And along with Jadeja, although Jadeja has some little extra with everything that he does, but Axar Patel, a great value to the team. 3 in 1.
Big contribution from Axar. But I also noticed a bit of a social media storm. Thankfully, KL Rahul took that and stumped him. But before that, it seemed like he had a tough day with the gloves on. Anil Kumble, I think we've had the chat previously that he's looking like a specialist keeper earlier in the tournament. And did he just have a tough day at the office today?
There's a storm on that.
They're going, he at least needs to be efficient behind the stumps. There's the drop of Williamson and whatnot. I feel for KL Rahul. He cops a lot sometimes. But anyway, Anil.
Yeah, it was a tough catch. I mean, if you look at Kane Williamson, that came off really not a edge, but literally from the meat of the bat almost, and it deviated quite a bit. And at that short distance, it's not easy to take those kind of catches. On this kind of a surface, it's going to be hard work for the keepers because there'll be something always expected out of them because either it's stumping or ball beating the bat or edges like that. So it's going to be a challenge, but I don't see India making that change because I still feel KL Rahul should be batting at 5 in a situation like what India was found in today. But keeping wise, I think he did a decent job. Yes, that catch was tough. It proved crucial, But otherwise, I think he's still good enough.
If there's a big deflection, after the outside edge and the keeper, if his gloves are very close to the bat, even the keeper feels that he hasn't dropped it. It's got to be a feather if there's a big deflection. The second one, I think KL Rahul felt he could have maybe caught that because he saw him shaking his head. With the first one, he came to terms with it because maybe the angle changed a lot. So I guess you can't call them sort of easy drop catches.
And I think he's also getting used to Varun Chakravarthi and his new variations, which have developed over time.
Again, that mystery.
Yep, lots of mystery. Right, New Zealand, well poised though. They wouldn't be reflecting too much on this. How do you see them going against South Africa very quickly, Bondi, now that we know what the semi-finals look like?
Yeah, I think it'll certainly a bowling lineup that New Zealand will prefer. The pace on the ball. There's no real mystery in the South African spin because I don't think they'll play Shamsi. So it's a very different
which is
challenge.
a mystery for me that they don't play Shamsi at all.
Yeah. So I think New Zealand will go back to familiar conditions. They play well in Pakistan. It's a good match. It'll be a really good match, I think. But I think New Zealand batting in particular will enjoy the pace on of South Africa, and they'll have to deal with that before they perhaps get another chance to rectify what's happened tonight.
And if you watched our pre-show, all of Sanjay Manjrekar's interesting theories of a loss may not be the worst thing for India because they would want to avoid Australia. Well, they've avoided your theory. How do you see India going?
With the kind of pitch that we have and with Australia's spinners being Zampa and Labuschagne and Maxwell, and a couple of part-timers in head. And I just feel with the current, this brilliant call that India have taken, I look at India differently now. India's challenge against Australia would be runs on the board because their spinners will keep getting them into the game. But as I said before, India have a problem playing spin. Even today, a couple of batters shone through, and there were at least 4 who failed in the top 6. So batting will be the challenge. Australia's temperament is the challenge for India. South Africa, that way, slightly more easy opposition to beat. So India will have to pull out their A game.
Is this surface exactly what the Ahmedabad World Cup final surface looked like, Anil Kumble?
I don't know. I didn't see that, nor have I seen this. But for sure, in terms of India playing 4 spinners, it's pretty obvious that the surface would spin from ball 1. I mean, that's one of the reasons why India has played 4 spinners. And I would prefer playing Australia in a semi-final. I mean, you don't want to play them in the final. So India has always. And I said that even yesterday in the preview.
Why is that, Anil? If I may ask, why semis?
No, it's just that I think India play better against Australia in the semis. It's just that you feel a lot more confident. Australia sort
2011
of those
quarterfinal. Pakistan was the semi.
Yeah, I think even in the T20 World Cup, I know it was not the semi-final, but India sort of knocked Australia out in that T20 match. So it's just that I feel, on a surface like this, when you have 4 spinners, it's going to be very challenging for Australian batters. They certainly have the capabilities. I mean, Maxwell can take the game away in 10, 15 overs. That's always
not
something
on this
that,
pitch.
Yeah, I know, not on this pitch, but he has that ability. He has that ability to sort of do something very unique. But I think with the kind of bowling effort and India having played on the surface in throughout this tournament, certainly India has the advantage of beating Australia.
All right.
Good point.
All right. Well, it's a repeat of the 2015 World Cup semi-final lineup. It was a New Zealand-Australia final back then. I'm not sure we're going to go down that route just yet. We have spoken of how good Shreyas Iyer's innings was. Hardik Pandya's crucial 40. We have to get India to 249 on our mid-show. In case you've missed that, you could definitely catch it. Do we want to revisit that at the end of the game? Just how important it was for India to push with Hardik Pandya's runs to 249.
Yeah, because Shubman Gill failed, Rohit Sharma failed, Virat Kohli failed, KL Rahul failed, and despite that, India got almost 250 on that pitch. So they have batting depth, and today it counted for something. Axar Patel contributed. Hardik Pandya showed why he's such an exceptional player come the crunch moments.
And the early wicket as well by Pandya.
But Shreyas Iyer's skills against spin will come in handy on this kind of surface in the big games too.
All right, semi-final lineup confirmed. Let's ask this wonderful panel for an early prediction on who will play the final on, well, I can only give the date because I can't even give the venue until you tell us what the final looks like. Let's go to Shane Bond. Who is going to play the final in a week's time? Bondi.
I think we're going to see a repeat of tonight. That's what I think.
India and New Zealand for Shane Bond. Anil Kumble.
Sorry, Bondi. I think it'll be a repeat of the T20 finals.
India and South Africa, says Anil Kumble.
Yeah. I see New Zealand beating South Africa.
Yes.
And India, Australia will be close. I'm just wary of Australia for what they've done to India in recent times on the big stage. But I know, right through today, I've been aping Shane Bond with his predictions. So this one as well, I'm with him.
Very good.
Great work, Sanjay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. He's a very good ape. Yeah, he's good at aping. Yeah.
He's a very good ape. Now that should create a social media storm.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Get him, guys.
We leave it there. Thank you so much to Anil Kumble, Shane Bond and Sanjay Manjrekar. We look forward to their company going forward as well on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket Info Match Day. We will see you on semi-finals day. But before I leave you, there's something brewing, something special. Watch this space and watch ESPN Cricket Info for the next day or so, because you'll get a hint of what's happening. You got broadcasters from around the world, and we know what a dream job this is touted to be. And as you just go through those who've had the passion for the game, the thirst to want to be presenting, reporting, and bringing in all their cricket skills in the broadcast world, Cricinfo's got something special lined up over the next couple of days. So do watch this space. We will see you again on semi-finals day for match day. See you.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.